Well, that's a surprise that came out of nowhere. So despite Riot trying to hide their plans until the moment they are ready, it turns out others are not really that good at doing that. And through a really unfortunate post, which might have been planned to be honest, the second season of League of Legends was indirectly confirmed. And it is pretty much exactly what we thought it would be. As a reminder, from what was revealed to us in the latest dev post, while the third season of this year should be a standalone one, which is likely based on an alternative universe, and now, from all the other Riot products it seems like it might be based on a musical universe, the second season, which should be out around the summer, should still be linked to the story of the first season. Specifically, Riot mentioned that the first two seasons this year will not be as narratively connected as they were last year, but some story connections should still be there. Which means, yes, most of the speculations we had should still be true. And so, about 2 days ago, we got this post from Gamescom Latin America. Now, this post confirmed Riot's presence at Gamescom. It also mentioned that there will be booths for TFT. There will also be 2xKO arcade machines with a mini tournament happening on site. Wild Rift will also have a setup for 10 people to play at the same time. There should be a bunch of giveaways, and there should be also a League of Legends booth. There, Riot might be showcasing new updates to Arena, which, as is mentioned here, should also have new maps. I'm gonna assume by this they are talking about Arena specifically. And they also mention new systems, which again, I'm gonna assume they are talking about a big update for Arena. So there could be an upgrade to the way you pick augments. Or maybe there's a new progression. Regardless, most importantly, they also mentioned that there will be a bunch of new skins that are themed after the demons of Runeterra. This is important because anytime we get anything that is connected to Runeterra, especially with the new seasons, we are talking about stuff that is connected to the current season. And as was mentioned here, it's time for demons. Now, it is likely that Gamescom didn't want to leak stuff from Riot, but rather it is possible that Riot just gave them a list of stuff that will be happening at Gamescom and they just made a post about it. The fact that some of these details should be still hidden kinda falls on Riot's head, I guess. But at the same time, it is not like these reveals are anything massive. It is something we did speculate before. And mainly we speculated about this because of Garen's comic. In the comic For the Fallen, where Garen delivered the daggers to the families of the fallen soldiers of the Dauntless Vanguard, at the beginning, where Garen was in an inn, the innkeeper was talking to a very unique character. It is a stranger who was asking about the woods, and the innkeeper even told them that something weird is happening there. On top of this, you might have noticed that this new character has a weirdly unique weapon on his back, making them suspiciously look like a new champion. And of course, visually, they definitely look like a demon hunter, similar to Vayne. And so it was pretty obvious that this character is not nobody. More likely than that, it might be the next champion. Even the glasses look like Vayne. And at the end of that part, the character just left the inn and wandered into the woods. But the woods might be connected to other things that we already saw before. First of all, let's not forget about the weird demonic deer that appeared at the beginning of the cinematic and then never again. Funnily enough, no one has any idea what those things are. And if Riot doesn't do anything with those deer, that's gonna be quite a mystery. So it is more likely that something will be happening there, meaning that these deer might be from the demonic woods, and that's where the next champion should be. But that is not the only thing related to demonic woods. In the same cinematic, Sona also dealt with a demon encroaching on a village. And that village just happens to be next to a big forest. Specifically, that village kinda felt similar to Phosborough, which is a place that Nocturne previously haunted in a different story. Actually, from this perspective, it should be actually happening in the future. And in that story, as Nocturne haunted the city, people started dying left and right until Lux arrived. The point is, the cinematic didn't exactly confirm what kind of a demon we are dealing with there. Though one thing is certain, with the shadows consuming people, it did look demonic. But that is still not it for demons in Demacia. It turns out Demacia is kinda full of them, because besides Nocturne there is another demon that people will know is quite a treat for Demacians. And of course we are talking about Fiddlesticks, one of the most powerful demons in existence as far as we know. And of course, you might remember that not only did Fiddlesticks appear in Demacia in his reveal cinematic, but he did also get a short story that was also in Demacia. So will they get some new lore in this new demonic season? Maybe. But that is still not it for demons occupying Demacia, because outside of those, there is also one that people will love. Because it's Evelynn. That's right, let's not forget that Evelynn is one of the most crucial characters for Vayne's lore. Specifically, Evelynn is the one who killed Vayne's parents. And so to this day, she is Vayne's arch nemesis. Now, Evelynn herself got a bunch of stories where she also inspired people to create a cult and kinda sacrifice themselves to her. Because you know, Evelynn is kinda really good at charming people. But again, the point is that Evelynn is yet another demon in Demacia. Meaning that right now we have 3 separate demons acting on Demacia, and with the story kinda being where it is, all of them could potentially get some kind of an update. It is also possible that we could get an ASU for one of them, but I wouldn't bet on it because most of the setups are still happening for the year 2027. Though again, it's not impossible. Just keep in mind that if we are getting something, it is likely gonna be an ASU, not VGU, since it is very close to Shyvana. Of course, outside of this, there are many other demons which are not part of Demacia, but they are still demons, so potentially maybe something could happen with Tahm Kench. And of course there are other champions with links to demons, such as Neela or Swain, and let's not forget Mordekaiser and Annie. With that said, just like how we previously got the corrupted Petricite skins for champions that are definitely not Demacians, keep in mind that the point of those skins is to show us something that is related to that theme, even though the champions are not. For example, we got Petricite Cho'Gath, with Cho'Gath not being Demacian, but the Petricite Cho'Gath could be a construct that's from Demacia. Which means we could expect something like that with demons. More specifically, some champions could get demonic skins that represent totally separate demons. So for example, what if there was a big demon with big claws that could strike from the shadows? Well, in that case, Zed could get a demonic skin that represents the demon. Or what if there was a hungering behemoth that was just a towering monster? Well, in that case, Sion could get a demonic skin representing that. I think it is far more likely that something like this will happen, where champions will get demonic skins representing a totally different demon. However, there is also one more demon that could get something, and if you ask me, they should get something, because up until this point, this is the only demon that is still missing their lore. Of course, that is if it turns out that they are even a demon, that's how old their lore is. And of course, we are talking about the living meme, Shaco. Now, what are the chances that Shaco might get some lore? Pretty minimal. But if you gave me the keys to a demonic season, what Riot could do is use the next champion in a very classic League of Legends way. Because in the past, whenever a new champion came out, not only did they get their own new lore, but their lore was always used to enhance the story that was already laid out. For example, Zoe taught us about the aspect of Twilight and a whole new stuff happening with the Darkin. Silas revealed a whole new chapter for Demacia. Yone taught us about spirits and demons in Ionia, as well as Yasuo's past. Jin refreshed the entire lore of Shen and Zed. And even most recently, Zahen and Yunara just taught us about what happened with the Darkin in Ionia. Now, it is true that right now, Shaco has as much lore as the description on a cereal box. But if Riot went down the good old way of storytelling, it would be possible to make a new champion that is a demon hunter, where they would go and deal with something in the demonic woods. And if they are not dealing with Fiddlesticks or Nocturne, or Evelynn, even though Evelynn is kinda taken by Vayne, Shaco could definitely be thrown into the pile. But let's be honest, the chances of that are miserably low, because we are talking about Shaco. One thing that we could also consider is the Demacia Rising minigame. Since that minigame is all about Lux learning the history of Demacia, who's to say that some present events couldn't be happening there? Meaning that maybe there could be more invasions where the invasions are actually demonic. But while the end of the minigame was never directly confirmed, the last update is listed as 26/7. I hate what I just said. And so it seems like it will not really carry out into the second season, even though I would have loved it if it did. Especially since it was confirmed that we are not getting any more metagames this year. But with that, that's pretty much what we learned. Demons will arrive in Season 2 of League of Legends. Now, again, it kinda seems like we are staying in Demacia and that we are not moving into another region. Because if we were moving somewhere, either we would have to go to Ionia because demons have a lot of lore there. But we were literally just there, so I don't think it's happening again. Or we would have to move to Noxus, where Noxians tried to make the demonic compendium, but we were literally in Noxus last year, so I don't think it's happening either. And so, it is far more likely that we are staying in Demacia. The lore links should not be that big, because there is still a big update coming in 2027, and League kinda slowed down. And so how big will Season 2 be? We'll have to wait and see. I think Arena is gonna carry it. But at least if it is not that big, then it was confirmed that skins will be there. Because if everything else fails, we know that's all there ever will be.